assure everyone that our hope and confidence of a greater future shall not be in vain.
2021 Appropriations Bill becomes law. 13.58 trillion naira budgeted for economic recovery and transformation. Race for effective and safe COVID-19 vaccine heightens.
Our eyes are not off the road.
More successes on security as notorious bandits along Kaduna-Abuja highway neutralized.
Federal government can be seeing all these things. They should help the travelers at least to speed up the second Niger bridge.
And dream for second Niger bridge soon to be realized. Hello, good evening. Compliments of the season. This is NTA Network News. Actually, the last for the year 2020. How exciting. And we are live in Abuja. Adeola Komiakere joins us from Lagos. Pleasure to have your company. Well, let's begin by telling you that the 2021 Appropriations Bill of 13.58 trillion naira has been signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. The President also assented to the 2020 Finance Bill, critical to the implementation of the Budget of Economic Recovery and Resilience. Performing the ceremony, President Buhari reassured Nigerians that their hope and confidence of a greater future shall not be in vain. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Flanked by Vice President Yemi Oshibanju and presiding officers of the National Assembly, amongst others, President Muhammadu Buhari signs the two critical money bills into law to enable the implementation of the 13.58 trillion naira 2021 budget beginning January the 1st. This is the second consecutive year since the return to democracy in 1999. The nation's federal budget will be passed and assented to before the commencement of the new fiscal year, a further confirmation of the administration's resolve to maintain a predictable January to December budget cycle.
As you are all aware, our economy recently lapsed into its second recession in 4 years. We intend to use the budget to accelerate our economic recovery process, promote social inclusion, and strengthen the resilience of the economy. Ministries, departments, and agencies are hereby directed to redouble efforts towards implementation of their programs and projects in ways that promote the greater public good.
The President appreciated what he called sustained mutual understanding, collaboration, and high-level constructive engagement between the executive and the legislature, which made the accelerated enactment of the important money bills possible. This partnership, he said, must be sustained regardless of any differences in the greater interests of Nigerians. He, however, said changes made to the executive proposal will be examined and, where necessary, requests for amendment, variant, or appropriate adjustments will be forwarded to the National Assembly for consideration so that the core objectives of the budget are accomplished.
The 2021 budget is very critical to the delivery of the legacy projects of our administration. I also expect that the 2021 budget will stimulate domestic economic activities and create employment opportunities, especially for the youth. Relevant agencies are to ensure the realization of our crude oil production and export targets. Heads of defaulting agencies are hereby warned that they will be severely sanctioned.
And in view of the recent spike in coronavirus cases nationwide, the President promised to ensure timely implementation of the health and emergency measures in the 2021 budget towards controlling and containing the global pandemic, as well as protecting the lives and livelihoods of Nigerians.
As a nation, we are currently confronted with diverse challenges at this time. I commend the understanding, sacrifice, resilience of our people, both young and old. I assure everyone that our hope and confidence of a greater future shall not be in vain.
One important revelation at the budget signing ceremony was the disclosure by Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed that the 2020 budget was implemented a record 97.7%.
And this is to show what can be achieved when the legislature and the executive arms of government work together in harmony for the benefit of the people of Nigeria. So long as it is a national interest, we will give Mr. President the kind of support that he requires to make Nigeria a better place, to make Nigeria a safer place, to make the economy of Nigeria work for every Nigerian.
It's all about us. Government is all about everybody. It's not about the legislature, it's not about the executive. The president said it clearly. He said we also need the cooperation of the civil societies. He asked the agencies and the ministries to also cooperate, because that's another arm of government. That's another check and balance to government. And so we're calling on them, we're calling on the people out there to continue to show support.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, is expected to provide further details on the 2021 budget in the coming days. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Well, let's stick with that story just for a moment and discuss very briefly as Mr. Johnson Chukwu, Managing Director, Carries Assets, joins me via Zoom now to speak on the signed 2021 budget by the President. You're welcome to NTA Network News, Mr. Chukwu.
Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Yes, it's just a few hours away. How exciting it is. So let's just have your view on the just signed 2021 budget by the President.
Well, I will start by commending the President. I think it's a New Year gift to Nigerians that for the second year, consecutive year, the budget implementation will start on the first working day of the new year. So that gives government the headroom to implement the budget. Like you rightly pointed out in your introductory news, the Minister of Finance said 2020 budget was implemented to the level of more than 90%. That's obviously because that budget was signed into law, despite the difficulties the economy faced in 2020. For us to talk of close to 100% budget implementation, it's one of the best we've seen in the history of this country. And this year, the coming year, that the government has also signed the new budget into law before the advent of the new year, I think Nigerians should be prepared that we're not likely going to see the kind of economic disruption and health disruption we saw in 2020. So we should see a better result from the implementation of the budget. Okay, so fine, Nigerians should expect, but how do you see this budget aiding the recovery process, and what are your expectations for this to happen? Well, in the first place, the budget is an expansionary budget. There's a provision for 5.2 trillion naira deficit, which means the government is hoping that it will inject it into the economy to drive economic recovery and restore economic growth. And so basically, ab initio, the budget is designed in such a way that if it's fully implemented, it should be able to support economic recovery. It should be able to support the economy to come out of its current recession. If you look at the capital component of the budget, you have about 4.1 trillion naira of the capital component. Even the recurrent expenditure budget of 5.6 trillion is supposed to help to create some social jobs that will help reverse the current economic decline.
Okay, so just before I let you go, Mr. Chukwu, is there any relationship between the budget and the Continental Free Trade Area, also kicking off January 1, same with the budget?
Well, it's a nexus in to the extent that one could say that if you look at the budget provision, look at the Ministry of Transport, about 209 billion was budgeted as capital expenditure for Ministry of Transport. That is supposed to support infrastructure development and help facilitate the country as a destination for foreign direct investment. As you know, there will be competition for investment by African countries as we implement the African Continental Free Trade Agreement starting from early tomorrow. So I think Nigeria is getting ready to prepare to build infrastructure that will support inward investment into the economy, so that will be a natural destination for foreign and local investors that want to set up operational activities in Africa to sell to other parts of the continent.
Of course, Mr. Chukwu, I couldn't agree more, especially with the African single market just in view. Thank you very much indeed for shedding light on the matter, though. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, in the meantime, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture has described the signing of 2021 budget by President Buhari as reflection and signal from the president that things will be done as at when due and at the right moment in the year 2021. In a statement, the Director General of NASIMA, Ambassador Ayo Olukomi, said it is a welcome development, hoping that it will be applicable in all other areas so as to contend with challenges in 2021 and timely implementation of the various provisions in the budget. NASIMA believes that the respective ministries, departments and agencies will also rise to the occasion, both in the release of funds and in the implementation of the programs and projects under the budget. In this regard, projects that relate to development of infrastructure, energy, road, rail are of major importance, Ambassador Ayo explained, should be given priority in order to make Nigeria go out of recession in the first quarter of 2021. The coronavirus pandemic has been described by experts, as an unprecedented tsunami in the world oil market. The pandemic, which came initially as a wave, put the whole world in shock, with concerted efforts by major industry players tailored at stabilizing this all-important sector. Over now to Lydia Sampson for a look at major interventions in 2020 aimed at alleviating the effect of the no longer business as usual status of the oil and gas sector in Nigeria and globally.
The future of the global oil and gas industry has been a subject of great debate for decades. Since COVID-19 surfaced, there's been even more conjecture on the issue, in particular, the most likely timing for peak oil, when crude production reaches its maximum rate before going into permanent decline. Nigeria's gas industry is on the verge of real transformation. Some of the FIDs that were close to finalization were postponed globally. However, Nigeria stood tall as the final investment for Train 7 LNG was signed.
We are crossing what we call the Ndoni-Abo River crossing in River State that will deliver gas from the eastern part of the country into the western corridor. That means expanding gas supply into the ELF line, also making gas ready, and the AKK, it will be waiting for AKK to come up.
Government declared the year 2020 as the year of gas, and huge investment to increase Nigeria's value realization from her huge gas endowments from the Ajakuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline.
When completed, the Ajakuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline project will provide gas for generation of power and for gas-based industries, which would facilitate the development of new industries and also the revival of urban industries.
Autogas and the inauguration of the Oredo Integrated Gas Handling Facility and LPG processing and dispensing plants, key players say, highlights President Muhammadu Buhari's genuine determination to deliver on his promises even in the face of daunting challenges, particularly those posed by the coronavirus pandemic.
The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has made unprecedented strides in the area of gas infrastructure development that will facilitate exploitation and monetization of Nigeria's massive gas resources.
The global oil market through OPEC was instrumental in helping counter the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and in stabilizing the oil market through successful implementation of the Declaration of Cooperation Objectives and an unprecedented production cut.
As we look to navigate the future energy transition, it is our deeply held conviction that we need to work together step by step and challenge the misconception that the oil and gas industries are not part of our energy future.
The chain reaction of events due to COVID-19 and the drastic measures taken worldwide to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 led to an unprecedented drop in the demand for oil and a corresponding catastrophic collapse in prices. OPEC's latest World Oil Outlook, for example, forecasts increasing oil demand for 2 more decades. The good news is the federal government is resolved to deepen local content, transparency and accountability so that Nigerians can have maximum impact from the oil and gas sector going forward. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari will make a New Year broadcast to the nation Friday, January 1, 2021 at 7 a.m. A statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, enjoins television, radio and other electronic media outlets to join the network services of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, and Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, respectively, for the broadcast. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has applauded the outgoing President of Niger Republic, Muhammadu Isufu, and the citizens of the country for the peaceful and successful conduct of the last presidential and parliamentary elections. This was while granting audience to the leader of the ECOWAS election observation mission to the neighboring Niger Republic and Nigeria's former Vice President, Muhammad Namadi Sambo. State House correspondent Adama Sambo has more.
Muhammad Namadi Sambo was in the State House to convey to President Muhammadu Buhari the gratitude of the election observation mission for the support given by Nigeria, as well as the deep appreciation of the government and people of Niger for its administration's continuous assistance, cooperation and encouragement. Describing the elections as successful, free and fair, the former Vice President of Nigeria explained that there was no incident that created any alarm and expressed the hope that this peaceful conduct will continue. For President Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian leader Muhammadu Isufu deserved to be congratulated on how he organized and conducted the elections. Muhammadu Isufu, he said, is going home with honor and grace. The president, however, expressed regrets over reported incidents of violence in some other countries in the sub-region. As he put it during the closed-door engagement, seeing how bloody it has been in some other countries, Isufu must be congratulated on working out this so well to enable him hand over and go quietly. President Buhari also praised the work of the ECOWAS mission to Niger Republic under the former Vice President of Nigeria, Muhammad Namadi Sambo, describing it as very impressive. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Well, do stay with us here on NTA Network News. Let's just take some messages. We're back shortly.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Season's greetings from the Federal Road Safety Commission.
The Federal Road Safety Co appreciates all road users and all other stakeholders for your cooperation.
This is a season of peace, joy, and love. Road crashes are trending down in Nigeria, and together we shall keep it down. I urge you to travel safe and avoid drinking while you drive.
These are presidential orders. All public buses, taxis and tricycles must travel at 50% capacity, and drivers are to ensure Passengers wear face masks.
Be alert, avoid dangerous driving and behavior.
Wishing you a safe and prosperous year ahead.
The call wishes you happy celebration and safe travels.
In case of road crash, call toll-free lines 122 or 0700-225-53772.
Announcer BC Kazim, Assistant Corps Marshal, Corps Public Education Officer, FRSC.
In this earth, we grow champions. In this earth, greatness takes root. Here, talent flourishes and passion ignites. Here, dreams, they come alive. We know football and life, they are the same. You get the ball, you run with the ball. People try to take the ball from you, don't let them. Keep your eyes on the ball, don't lose sight of the goal. And when it's time, take the shot. Life is football, you must take your shot.
Great supporters of football. Unlimited.
As I dey waka waka inside this journey called life.
No one sees what this journey took from him.
But I'll keep on keeping on. Cause them say nothing good they come in.
How far he pushed his mind and his body. How many times he broke down and needed support. Success lies on the other end of pain. See as everybody they hail am now, cheering every verse and chorus. As Naija mama where I be, my son no fit carry last. So when pain comes knocking, we look back at it without fear and say, not today.
For aches, pains, and fever, trust Emzor Paracetamol.
The Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria and the Federal Road Safety Corps reminds all that the end-of-year activities are marked with celebration and travels. Your safety and that of others is important. Obey all traffic rules. Ensure your vehicle is in good condition. Do not drink and drive and avoid night travels if possible. Also note, the second wave of COVID-19 is ravaging. Obey all laid down NCDC protocols by observing social distancing, wearing of face masks, washing of hands, and use of hand sanitizers. Life is precious. Please stay safe. Happy New Year and enjoy the best of 2021. Alhaji Musa Muhammad, President, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, announcer.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
There are no small beginnings, only stepping stones to bigger things. That's our philosophy at Premium Pension. And so no matter the size of your money, our team of expert fund managers invested wisely and actively to make sure your money is always working as hard as you do. After all, the things we're building today can help shape your future in the long run. And with the right partner by your side, the one thing you're sure to do is soar. Premium Pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
As the countdown to the new year begins, we here at NTA cannot help but look back
on a challenging year that has been filled with many lessons. The most important of all being a renewed gratitude for the continuous support of our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses and manufacturers, and you, the viewers. As we cross the finish line together, this celebration of new beginnings would simply be incomplete without you there. And we look forward to sharing the coming year with you. Here's to an excellent year ahead.
Welcome back. You're still watching NTA Network News with me, Joseph Johnson in Abuja. Now, the race to develop an effective and safe COVID-19 vaccine is gaining ground in many parts of the world. Joyce Ometu reports that 34 countries have rolled out COVID-19 vaccines and started administering doses to contain the spread of coronavirus.
Scientists around the world are racing to produce safe and effective vaccine to combat the pandemic that has killed more than 1.8 million people worldwide, with the total caseload showing no signs of slowing. So far, U.S. drug maker Pfizer and German partner BioNTech are the COVID-19 vaccine trailblazers, following the publication of full phase 3 trial data. This has been accepted in 32 countries, including US and UK. COVID-19 vaccine developed by Moderna has also been approved for use in the US. 4 countries have approved Russia's Sputnik V, UK has approved AstraZeneca, and Sinopharm currently used in China. However, some rich nations have either booked or bought most of the doses of these vaccines, while others have started mass vaccination programs, leaving low and middle-income countries at the bottom of the queue. Global concerns about COVID-19 vaccine side effects are on the rise. As precautionary measure, health officials have advised those with a history of significant allergic reaction not to take the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. In Africa, many countries are relying on COVAX, a global COVID-19 allocation plan co-led by the World Health Organization. Meanwhile, Nigeria expects to receive its first doses in January 2021. Health Minister Osage Ehanire said that the country has an operational group in place to handle vaccines. In the final WHO's media briefing for 2020, senior officials warned that vaccination is no guarantee of virus eradication. Joyce Ometu, NTA News.
Now let's discuss these vaccines a little further, as I have Professor Mojishola Adeye, the Director General, National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, joins me now from Ibadan Network Center to speak on Nigeria's preparedness for the vaccines. You're welcome to NTA Network News, Professor.
It's good to be here.
That Nigeria is built to have its first round of doses by January 2021. How much of advocacy has NAFDAC embarked on to prepare the minds of Nigerians? I mean, given the different thoughts or speculations, if you like, making the rounds.
Thank you. The mission of NAFDAC is to ensure that any therapeutics, vaccine coming into the country is safe, is going to be efficacious for our people. And NAFDAC has been working along this line since April during the lockdown. We've been preparing to ensure that no vaccine will be used in Nigeria. NAFDAC approving its quality, its safety, and its efficacy. Nigeria or NAFDAC is one of the few countries in Africa that has written a guidance for preparedness in terms of vaccine. We are working right now to get ready to know when the companies submit their dossier, what to look for. And in NAFDAC is to use what is called reliance, meaning if UK, US has already approved a particular product vaccine, we will depend on their review plus peculiarities that we can also look into in the particular submission. But I just want to assure Nigerians that there will not be any vaccine in Nigeria without approval, meaning NAFDAC's approval, and we lay emphasis on the safety and the efficacy of all vaccines that will be given to our people. So now,
yes, talking about that, I'd like to know the NMA. You talked about some of the things you need to do before this is given a stamp. The NMA was asking for a pre-trial in Nigeria of any vaccine to be administered in the country. Do you agree with this?
If I hear you well, if there's there is something that is being said about pre-trial of vaccines, yes. NAFDAC is not aware of that, a pre-trial of vaccines in Nigeria. We cannot allow that unless we know that that vaccine is going to be safe. We've been approached by 2 companies, including Pfizer, about 3 or 4 months ago, and we told them that we are ready to work with any company in terms of trial, but we will be very, very sure that whatever has been done before coming to Nigeria shows that that particular vaccine is very safe. But let me not just make it so simple. The vaccines, whether it is Pfizer, BioNTech, or Moderna, are going through phases right now that they've never gone through before. They went through phase 3. What we have now is emergency use authorization, but we can also call it phase 4. And phase 4 clinical trial is when you start observing or you looking out for things that ordinarily were not noted during phase 3. So you can see you can hear about the side effects of one versus the other. That is part of what NAFDAC is getting ready to do, active pharmacovigilance. And we are also going to use what is called track and trace, meaning that we're going to trace all the vaccines coming into the country using the barcoding. And along with that track and trace is also knowing which person is getting what vaccine, so that if there is a side effect, we can easily record that. So it's stakeholder effort, but NAFDAC has to approve the vaccine before it is available to our population.
Professor, just finally, before I let you go, because we're running out of time, talking about things to look out for and approval, what is NAFDAC doing to ensure the potency and sustainability of such vaccine going by the nation's climate and the temperature needed to preserve the vaccines?
The vaccines, for example, Pfizer, it has to stay under -80 degrees. Moderna, can stay in the refrigerator temperature or freezer temperature. Now, part of what NAFDAC is going to be doing is monitoring the stability, meaning the potency, as it moves from one part of the country to the other, or with time in terms of storage. What is the temperature condition? That is part of what NAFDAC is doing, and our vaccine lab is being augmented now. In fact, the government has supported us in building a new vaccine lab, but meanwhile we have a lab that can take care of the lot assessment or the potency of the vaccine. And again, active pharmacovigilance will be done at every junction during the supply chain, within the supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish you all the best in the process, and we hope that this should soothe the nerves of Nigerians, and that it's nothing actually to be worried about being vaccinated. Professor Mojisola Adeye, the Director General of NAFDAC, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, and a Happy New Year.
All right, let's turn our attention to security matters now. Security operatives have recorded another success in the fight against banditry and other crimes along the Abuja-Kaduna highway. Haruna Mohammed reports that 9 suspected cattle rustlers were neutralized by the operatives along the road.
Kaduna-Abuja highway was for some time a nightmare for motorists on account of high rates of kidnapping, banditry and cattle rustling along the road. Security operatives have made frantic efforts to bring the situation under control. The recent breakthrough was an encounter between security operatives, some bandits and cattle rustlers.
Security agencies are not only on the road, they are also carrying out vigorous and aggressive fighting patrols.
Kaduna State Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai congratulated the troops on the successful operations, urging them to sustain the offensive against criminals. In Kaduna, Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
And a combined team of the police, army and air force has rescued 23 women and children from kidnappers after a fierce gun duel at Umadao village in Korfi local government area of Katsina State. The State Commissioner of Police, Sanusi Buba, who made this known while addressing newsmen, said the rescued 17 women and 6 children have since reunited with their families.
The deployment of police special forces, counter-terrorism units and police mobile force to Katsina by the Inspector General of Police is yielding positive results as several arrests of suspected bandits and their informers were made as well as arms and ammunition recovered. Katsina State Commissioner of Police Sanusi Buba said with this development, a combined effort of security operatives in the frontline local government areas of the state rescued, kidnapped 23 women and children. He said 6 of the bandits were killed, 23 cows, 20 sheep, 31 goats, 12 motorcycles belonging to the bandits and 1 G3 rifle were recovered.
We are headed by Area Commander Dudima. He started it all when he got the information. He mobilized policemen, informed the army, informed the Air Force, the vigilante. All hands were on all routes, possible routes, where these hoodlums are going to escape with these women and the children were blocked. And in fact, the fight continued from night time till daybreak.
Speaking on the successes recorded by the Katsina Police Command in the year 2020, Police Commissioner Sanusi Buba said about 2,000 suspected criminals were arrested for various offenses. 29 bandits were neutralized in gun battles. He said during the year under review, the command recovered arms and ammunition, suspected stolen motor vehicles, as well as bandits' motorcycles. In Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Kaduna State Police Command has apprehended 82 suspects for their alleged involvement in various forms of crimes. Haruna Mohammed reports that among the suspects are 3 youth involved in the Ford Kaduna sex party and the prime suspect who allegedly stabbed to death Aminu Mohammed Ibrahim, son of former NTA Director General Mohammed Ibrahim.
29 out of the 82 suspects were paraded for their alleged involvement in kidnapping. 13-year-old Abubakar Aliu allegedly conspired with 2 others to kidnap himself and made his father pay a ransom of 1.7 million naira. 3 of the suspects were arrested for the false social gathering tagged sex party, violating the laws of Kaduna State, particularly the State Penal Code and the COVID-19 safety guidelines.
I collected the phone from him. Anyone familiar with Kawo bus stop knows the area is known to be occupied with touts and drug dealers.
Other suspects paraded were in connection with their alleged involvement in culpable homicide, cybercrime, fake currency, illegal arms manufacturing and theft.
Number of rescued kidnapped victims 13. Number of kidnappers arrested 29. Synopsis on gender-based offenses from October to December 2020. Number of rape cases reported 11. Number of suspects arrested 16. Number of victims 11. Number of case files sent to DPP for legal advice 7.
The Commissioner of Police, Kaduna State Command, Umar Musa Muri, called on parents and the public to counsel their wards against committing crimes, as the wrath of the law will always catch up with them. The Commissioner says the suspect will be charged to court upon completion of investigation. In Kaduna, Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
And armed forces of Nigeria has between 18th of March and 30 December 2020 neutralized 2,403 criminal elements across the country. This is in addition to scores of other terrorists and armed bandits killed during airstrikes in the period. Coordinator Defense Media Operations Major General John Enenche disclosed this at an end-of-year media briefing in Abuja. Francis Form reports.
Within the periods under review, troops engaged in series of land, maritime and air operations involving kinetic and non-kinetic approach. The coordinator of Defense Media Operations says these operations resulted in the rescue of 864 kidnapped victims and a recovery of 9,684,797 liters of stolen automotive gas oil, popularly called diesel.
33,516,000 of DPP, among others. And then, yes, it is good to point out here that 1,910 criminals were arrested, majority of them under investigation, and at the end of the investigations, some appropriate judicial processes have commenced, and others will commence on completion of investigation, of which we always fully.
General Enenche attributed the successes recorded to the commitment and determination of the gallant troops.
We will continue to sustain the offensive and will not relent until peace is restored to every troubled zone in Nigeria.
The military high command commended Nigerians for their support and solicited further cooperation in providing credible information that will facilitate proactive engagements in the coming year. In Abuja, Francis from NTA News.
Still talking security matters, the Directorate of Defense Media Operations, DMO, says the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has neutralized several Islamic State of West Africa province elements and destroyed their hideouts 1 kilometer north of Tumbun, Guinea, on the fringes of Lake Chad in Borno State. DMO Coordinator Major General John Enenche says this was achieved through airstrikes executed on 30th December 2020 after a series of aerial surveillance missions indicated that the location camouflaged under dense vegetation was used as a staging area where some ISWAP leaders and their fighters planned and launched attacks. Nigerian Air Force NAV fighter jets and helicopter gunships attacked the location, destroying some structures and neutralizing several of the ISWAP fighters. ISWAP survivors were hit by a second wave of rockets and subsequently mopped up. Adiola in Lagos guides us on how the commercial city is preparing for 2021. Adiola, just a few hours to 2021. I'm pretty sure you're in high spirits for the crossover, aren't you?
Exactly, that is the mood here in Lagos. We're so excited that 2020 is done and dusted. It is a common phenomenon for people to make plans yearly towards progression in everyday life. However, it is also one thing to plan and another thing to actualize them, as one plans are nothing but wishful thinking. Our correspondent, who sampled the opinion of people on their dreams and aspirations in the outgoing year, reports that respondents described 2020 as a challenging year. The much talked about year 2020 came with lots of expectations for many. Unfortunately, just when people were beginning to settle down for the first quarter, an unwanted visitor came knocking, killing, destroying, and turning around fortunes. Economies crumbled, while policies and governments suffered major setbacks. Apart from the untold hardship experienced due to the COVID-19 lockdown, there was also lost opportunities.
COVID COVID-19 pandemic, which has disrupted the plans of everybody. Personally, I will say that I've not been able to achieve what I set out to do this year. Contracts have not been coming.
As I look at this year, from my own personally, on loss, especially on my plan from January 2020 to middle of this year.
The very tall dreams of many were cut short, but for these ones, they are thankful for life.
Say 2020 is good for me. 2020 is a year of like what I've been expecting for years. I achieved it 2020.
For me, I survived through the mercy of God. I survived through the help of people who have mercy for those who are not up to them.
2020 is a year of many troubles, but I thank God that I escaped through. Even though I pray for the 2020 to repeat itself in my life, because God really faithful to me this year.
Despite everything that happened, but we are still alive. So I don't have anything to say than to give time, because a lot happened this year.
Many are optimistic that better things lie ahead in the new year, even as they pray for a peaceful and prosperous nation. And just hours to the end of year 2020, residents of Lagos are still planning a trip outside the state to celebrate the new year with loved ones. Lynn Leneke monitored movement in the metropolis, and she reports that transporters say it is not business as usual.
Over the years, traveling to spend time with loved ones during the festive period has remained a constant, especially among Nigerians. In spite of the odds and challenges associated with COVID-19 pandemic, Lagos residents still find it necessary to travel.
We have washing hand basin, hand sanitizers, we give them nose masks, and we also control the number of passengers entering the vehicles. We use the machine to take their temperature, whether it's high or low, before they can travel.
Ojota Motor Park, for instance, that used to record unprecedented number of passengers, is experiencing low turnouts.
Last year, let's say from Monday to Saturday, I make like 4 trips. But this year now, just one. Last year now, we are loading 7, 3, 3, 1. But for this year now, it's 3, 2, 1.
As of today, of last year, we don't have any buses, any cars are down to load, because one of them we are even looking for buses to come and pack some passengers to their destination, to Kitipupa. But today, I can see our bus, they are around, no passengers.
At the Abuja train station, some travelers were seen trying to catch up with the last coach for the day en route Abeokuta and Ibadan, while most of the passengers were already seated, awaiting the takeoff signal.
I'm very glad that it's available. It's, I believe, much better than getting stuck on the highway on the road. And I used it last week. I traveled by the train last week, and it was a very pleasant experience. And that's why I'm repeating the trip.
I actually came to Lagos on the train. Very easy to use, well standard. The traveling is actually quite comfortable, much more comfortable than being on the roads.
As Nigerians look forward to a better and pandemic-free 2021, it is expected that road users adhere strictly to driving rules and COVID-19 preventive measures. In Lagos, Lynn Leneke, NTA News.
And we say a big amen to that. Another break beckons. The news will continue thereafter. To stay with us.
customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network. There is one that has class. And the I pass my neighbor. Don't be a joy killer. There is the right gadget for every moment. Redmi Note 9 Pro. Upgrade your life. Powered by Xiaomi.
It is time for celebration. 30 years busting with goodness. No challenge can ever stop us. You can't underrate us. You can't underrate it. Water Guinness, busting with so much greatness. Water Guinness, enjoy a world of good. 30 years of nourishing goodness.
Hotspur ended 2020 in a slump, but will their fortunes change when they take on Leeds United in their first game of 2021 on Saturday? It's Tottenham versus Leeds United on the Premier League Live, showing on the NTA network from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Goal.com.
Despite the coronavirus pandemic that ravaged all sectors of the economy in the year 2020, there is still light at the end of the tunnel as the federal government is not relenting on the steady work at the second Niger Bridge to ensure the completion date of February 2022 is met. Maureen Ezokeke brings us an update.
Built in 1965, the existing Niger Bridge was a national wonder and became the crucial east-west link for several decades. Today, this traffic corridor has simply become inadequate due to increased vehicular movements, making heavy traffic a daily experience for travelers.
I am coming from Ondo State. When I come, I spend no less than 2 hours and here before I can cross this bridge.
Even if federal government can be seeing all these things, they should help the travelers at least to speed up the second Niger Bridge.
Thanks to the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, this unpleasant experience will soon be in the past as the administration is diligently working towards the completion of the second Niger Bridge to provide an alternative route for travelers. The scope of the project, which include the construction of 1.6-kilometer long bridge, 10.3-kilometer highway Owerri interchange, and a toll station, has already reached about 50% completion, while the entire project is expected to be completed in February 2022.
When they built that first bridge, they thought it was too much. Now it's not enough, and that's how I think you should look at infrastructure. But you build it once and you hope that you never have to go back to it again.
Aside easing traffic flow, the second Niger Bridge, when completed, is expected to create greater opportunities for local residents by advancing the commercial viability of the immediate area. In Onitsha, Maureen Ezokeke, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Dr. Boboyo Yemi, has enjoined Nigerians to drive safely and adhere to travel protocols that promote COVID-19 prevention. A statement signed by the Corps Public Education Officer, Assistant Corps Marshal Bisi Kazim. The Corps Marshal particularly enjoins members of the public not to violate the guidelines put in place by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, stressing the need for people to regularly wash their hands with soap, wear face masks, and observe social distancing. The Corps Marshal of the statement reveals he is pleased with the conduct of drivers during Christmas celebration and says there is need to sustain such good habits to avoid high rate of road traffic crashes. And now let's bring you sports with Kene Emma Abudike.
The dreaded COVID-19 pandemic no doubt disrupted global sporting calendar in 2020 to such an extent that sporting activities were completely or partially absent in most sporting nations of the world, including Nigeria. Major scheduled competitions were cancelled, and the few that were held featured no fans or spectators amid strict adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols. However, in the face of the challenge, some notable achievements were recorded in the sector in Nigeria and by Nigerians within and outside the nation. Recall that in August, the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development released the 2020 Draft National Sports Industry Policy to the general public for review and necessary input. The process, which is ongoing, will eventually culminate in the presentation of the policy for approval by the Federal Executive Council. In November, 8 basketballers of Nigerian heritage met the NBA draft peak, surpassing the 5 in 2017. Two of them, Isaac Okoro and Onyeka Okongo, were drafted in the first round, while Precious Achungwa, Zeke Naji, Udoka Azubike, Desmond Bain, Daniel Oturu, and Jordan Mora were also drafted. Still on basketball, the D-Tigers ended their FIBA AfroBasket 2021 first-round qualifiers with a perfect record in Kigali, Rwanda, alongside Senegal, Tunisia, Egypt, and Cote d'Ivoire. In boxing, Anthony Joshua successfully defended his WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO titles against Bulgaria's Kubrat Pulev on December 12 in London, while Efe Ajawa overcame his American opponent Jonathan Rice in a keenly contested bout in Las Vegas in September, even as the Scorpion Ridwan Oyekola beat Argentine Lucas Montesino in Ecuador in December to clinch WBF International Super Featherweight title.
He's a good fighter. I respect him.
In mixed martial arts, Nigeria's Israel Adesanya matched his prowess with spectacular victories in 2020 to emerge International Fighter of the Year, while also winning the Charles Mask Lewis Fighter of the Year award at the 12th MMA Awards. And in football, the 2020-2021 season of the nation's top-tier domestic league went underway in December in spite of challenges, making a return on national television.
Steven, good play, and it's
Watch out for more on our 2020 sports review. In Abuja, Kenan Ima Aburike, NTA News.
The death has occurred of Chief Toye Ogunshui. He died at the age of 88 on Monday, 28th of December 2020 in Jos. Late Toye Ogunshui was the former President General of Yoruba Community in Plateau State. He was also at one time Deputy President General of Yoruba Community in the North. He played a key role in diffusing tension during the period of crisis in Jos and also ensured that the process of reconciliation and forgiveness was consolidated. Burial arrangement would be announced by the family. And that's it on the edition of the very last edition of NTA Network News for the year 2020. From me, Joseph Johnson, and the entire NTA family, we wish you a happy and a prosperous new year. But don't forget to always stand with NTA against rape and rapists in the new year.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Tottenham Hotspur ended 2020 in a slump, but will their fortunes change when they take on Leeds United in their first game of 2021 on Saturday? It's Tottenham versus Leeds United on the Premier League Live, showing on the NTA network from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Bye-bye Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
As the countdown to the new year begins, we here at NTA cannot help but look back on a challenging year that has been filled with many lessons. The most important of all being a renewed gratitude for the continuous support of our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses and manufacturers, and you, the viewers. As we cross the finish line together, the celebration of new beginnings would simply be incomplete without you there. And we look forward to sharing the coming year with you. Here's to an excellent year ahead.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
You can follow us on all our social media.
As we prepare to draw the curtains on the year 2020, it's very obvious that the world has not turned the corner on the war against coronavirus and the several problems that come with it, social and economic. But one thing is clear, though, that the state of the world also presents us with an unusual opportunity to start to reset the button of civilization, to create a new world, to design a new future, particularly from the lessons that we must have learned from 2020. On the Sports Parliament today, we intend to start to paint on this blank canvas that future in sports that we all want. It's going to be challenging, but we trust that this erudite group of sports professionals will provide us with the answer starting today. I am Segun Odegbami, Speaker of the Sports Parliament, coming to you live from our studios in Lagos. Sitting in Parliament with me tonight is a whole array of parliamentarians, starting with the doctor in the house, Kweku Tando.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to be on set tonight, Thursday, the last Thursday of the year 2020. And I'm sure we're in for a very good program this evening. Good evening, Africans. Good evening, the whole world.
The guru himself, Tunji Adeyinka.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. Good evening, Nigerians. And I am looking forward to a beautiful program this evening.
Fantastic. The Maverick is in the house. Onome Obrute, he turned pastor this morning.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for having me once again. Fellow parliamentarians, I salute you. I greet you, Africa. Let the show begin.
The veteran in the house, all the way from Jos, my city. Abdurrahman Ibn Mohammed.
It's nice to be on set once again, Mr. Speaker. My fellow parliamentarians, it's nice to see how we will all send off the year 2020 on this very last Thursday of the year. My pleasure.
And all the way from Ho in Ghana, Professor Shiu Omotayo. Prof, how are you this evening?
Prof needs to unmute.
You're on mute. Unmute your mic.
Okay.
Well,
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be on this flagship program.
Fantastic. Well, we are set to roll, but everybody should just wait until after the break. Join us then.
Issues in the sports sector remain one of the most debated among Nigerians due to the passion, followership, government involvement, impact on Nigeria's external image and our national life in the sports parliament. The NTA offers Nigerians deep views on issues with experts in the sports sector, offering in-depth analysis, hindsight, insight and foresight towards elevating Nigerian sports to the zenith on the floor of the sports parliament. Sports Parliament, a unique platform for sports discussions, showing live on the NTA. Keep a date with the parliamentarians. Your eyes have it.
Welcome back. Well, this is the Sports Parliament at an unusual time, 10 o'clock. Okay? So, and it's coming to you from Africa's largest television network. NTA. In 2021, this program is going to go nuclear. That's the promise. Okay? So today, we are looking at creating sports in our future. In the process of preparing tonight's program, I got a message from a friend of mine. You know him, one of the most qualified sports administrators in our entire history, Dr. Patrick Ekeji. And he just said something that was just simple and straightforward that captured for me also a summary of what we are going to be discussing tonight. He says, and I'm not quoting him verbatim, but he says that what is needed and what has been missing is the special SPV, he calls it, special purpose vehicle to deliver sports development in Nigeria. And that special purpose vehicle, he says, without it, everything we are doing will not work, as it has not worked. That SPV is the National Sports Commission. So we are looking at the structure of Nigerian sports. We want to start from that foundation, the structure. Okay? So let us start from, because I know Kweku is an advocate of the National Sports Commission. He has promoted state sports commissions in several states and he's still asking other states to do it. So just take us into that. Do you agree with Patrick Ekeji?
Oh, yes, definitely. I agree with him. I actually learned a lot about this from him when I had the opportunity to work with him at the defunct National Sports Commission. There's no doubt about it that the Sports Commission structure is the best for us. And this is not taken away from the successes that we have recorded when we were either a ministry of youth or a ministry of sports. And basically for me, the two or three most important ingredients of the Sports Commission or that the Sports Commission brings on board. Number one is less bureaucracy. Number two, opportunity for professionalism and developing career paths. And then number three, a more distinct entity that the private sector is more willing to work with. those for me are the three major ingredients of a National Sports Commission. And I think we need to get that back if we really want to put together everything that we need to do to move sports forward. It's not only the National Sports Commission, there are other areas as well, but they all need to fuse together under the umbrella of the National Sports Commission for us to be able to move forward effectively.
Patrick, and not just him, also suggests that it has to be a board. It's not one person like a sole administrator. It is a board made up of professionals.
Exactly.
Qualified professionals, not politicians.
That was why I said that it gives room for professionalism and career path. Those are the advantages of having a National Sports Commission, which you cannot get under a ministry structure.
Okay, let me see if there's any dissenting voice. Let's go to Ghana. Professor Shimomataya, what are your thoughts on it?
Chief Patrick Kekeji has said it all. And I'm happy that it's coming from such a personality in Nigerian sports. And from what Dr. Kusandra said, he also he summarized the benefits of having a National Sports Commission to drive sustainable sports development in Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, all over the world. If you look at where sports is thriving anywhere in the world, it thrives on professionalism. And that is what the National Sports Commission is all about. Mr. Isaac Akioye, the first director of sports in Nigeria, championed the cause of the National Sports Commission. And today, you will agree with me that that was the golden age of sports development in Nigeria. And that was what we enjoyed to the level of the Ogbemudias and so on. Suddenly, when we went civil service, which is not coterminous with the demands of sports management at any level, at the level of athletes, at the level of administrators, at the level of sports medicine. In all levels, civil service cannot drive sports. So the answer is what Patrick Kekeji has suggested. Let Nigeria have a National Sports Commission backed by law of the National Assembly. Let it have its board and let professionals on sports in this country. And then you can do the business of sports. Then sports will now have sustainable sport development and sports for development. Thank you very much.
If it is as crystal clear as we have put it tonight, why have we had this problem through the years, through the decades of dissolving it, cancelling it, bringing it back, not having it at all, and so on and so forth? I don't know if Onome or Abdurrahman would have the answers. You people who have been in this environment for a while. Abdurrahman, what are your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the fact that we have had to dissolve the National Sports Commission once in a while, and at this point in time having none, is a matter of, you can describe as a matter of policy flip-flop by the various administrations. There has been no consistency. Your good self, you were once made a chairman of the National Sports Commission at some point in time.
No, National Institute for Sport.
National Institute for Sport, beg your pardon. But even though it was supposed to be an appendage of the National Sports Commission and the Sports Ministry, because of the kind of ideas you had in your head, the professional ideas you had, you didn't you were not allowed to go the far that you could have gone by the system. The simple fact is that, like Professor Sheon has captured it admirably, the civil service structure is not in any way conterminous with allowing sports to grow the way it should. There is no switching off at all. There is no room for, godfatherism or patriotism. It's either you have it or you don't. And it's only a professional structure like the National Sports Commission that will allow that. In the past, when we dissolved the National Sports Commission, it's either we have the Ministry of Sports aligned with youth affairs or women affairs. All these are, segments of the society that demand adequate attention on their own. And sports also needs to be taken care of on its own. Like the Prof has stated, certainly almost all the modern achievements that we've had in Nigerian sports from 1970 to the late 90s and early 2000s can be, traced to the National Sports Commission. Either their coaches have gone down there. You brought one of the coaches on this show some time ago. They go down to the grassroots. The sports administrator in the ministry would rather sit in the office doing civil service stuff. No, it will not sell. It will not grow our sports. Like Kweku had stated, the private sector will not gel well with that society. And to just give a final example before Onome comes in, because I know he has one or two things to say, we have the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Ordinarily, that should have been enough to run our petroleum affairs. Then we have a specialist agency, the NNPC, employing professionals that know what to do about oil drilling, about exploitation, and so on and so forth. That is a clear case that yes, we may have a sports ministry, but it's not the same thing as having a national sports commission. That is the way if we want to go forward.
Okay, well, Onome, let me just help you, because we have a brilliant journalist, a very successful journalist as our sports minister today. We don't know him with sports. We didn't know him with sports. He's doing his very best to catch up with the knowledge of running sports. But that's a purely political appointment. He's a minister, he's a politician, and he was brought in politically into it. How are we going to resolve this issue between putting the responsibility now for the resetting of this National Sports Commission in the hands of the politician? Onome?
Mr. Speaker, today I am speaking pure pidgin English so that the masses will hear me well. Waiting on they talk when we never do before. Have we not done this before? What are the results? Waiting with the scorecard. Me, I'm not in support of any sports commission. For me, committee that is not committed is to commit fraud. That is my own. We have the Ministry of Sports. Let those people who go to work at 8 o'clock and close at 2 o'clock and start selling their market in the office, let them work their work. They should do their work. Like Oga Abdurrahman said just now, he just spoke to me. We have the best heads in our ministries, but because of the unique nature we find ourselves in Nigeria, some people believe that them being redundant and playing Candy Crush. They play Candy Crush with people's lives and businesses in their offices. Let those people, they should begin to work. All this creating of National Sports Commission for me, I've never been in support of it. Like I've said, we don't do one before. Show me the report card. Or Gabatri when they talk. When you be dead there, let people know what happened. For me, I'm not in support of any National Sports Commission. For me, it is just another committee to quit fraud. Let the people in the ministry work. But
the people in the ministry are not professional sports people. For example, let me give you an example, just one quick example. The head in the ministry is a permanent secretary. Today they post somebody from Minister of Agriculture to become the permanent secretary in sports.
Let me ask you a question.
Listen.
Oga, please wait.
And then 2 months down the line.
Is he not a journalist? Is the minister not a journalist?
Listen. 2 months down the line, they post another person. How are you going to get continuity? How are you even going to that person will first understand the system? It can't work. It cannot work.
Let me agree with you, Mr. Sando. Let me agree with you. I want to ask you a question. The one that we had before, where is the scorecard? What did that do?
Yeah, but the scorecard under the National Sports Commission is definitely better than the scorecard under the ministry. We have so many examples and testimonies.
So they should bring the report card. Let us see. Because for me, there's no difference.
It is because Onome, you are not speaking with facts and figures and data. Yeah. I say a lot of sentiment, but that's okay.
There's no sentiment. I have just asked for the report card.
That's okay. Okay.
We can give you plenty of report card. Plenty.
Well, Tunji Adeyinka will be our moderator now, because looking at it from a purely business perspective, how does this impact on our sports development? You can add to what other people have said. Anyway, your own views on a foundation based on the National Sports Commission or the Sports Ministry.
I think that the speakers have laid it very clear, and I can understand Onome's frustration as well. But the fact is that if you have a ministry where you regard subject matter expertise as very critical, it's like if you say that engineering is a field of study and the people who are building your bridges must be engineers, you find it difficult if you bring in a town planner or someone else into that field. And the example I would like us to look at is the US example, the American example, which I talk about time and time again, that they don't have a Ministry of Sports. Because it's not a cabinet level position or portfolio. It's a pure business which is built on the technical competence of that field, and that technical competence is grounded first at the developmental level, which understands that we must bring up talents from age 0 to 6. We must broaden participation at the bottom of the pyramid, and we must then take a certain percentage into the elite wing. It's a technical field. Which is why if you look at things from a global point of view, if you look at South Africa as well, before you come back to Nigeria, and as some of the speakers have said, that under the National Sports Commission structure, which we have had in certain years, you've seen more development, more accelerated development in terms of athlete development, in terms of coaching development, technical development, and ultimately, if you begin to look at medals and the rest of them at the peak. So I think that is very critical and important. And look at some of the states that have also adopted that. You can look at Lagos State, for example, look at, I think, Delta State, look at a few other states that have adopted that. You will begin to see a structure, a better structure. I've had the privilege of working with the Lagos team from when Dr. Tando was there and even until recently. And the level of professionalism that you see at those different levels shows that they don't see it as politics. They don't see it as just civil service. They see it as something that they've studied in school, something that they've applied themselves to technically. So I think that we shouldn't dwell too much on that as a parliament. Data tells us that a structure that has a National Sports Commission promotes professionalism, as it were, and that is what we need in our sports. You can always have a political head like a minister who can be your political cover, who helps with cabinet level prominence, as it were, but then the structure underneath him must be a professional structure, not one that you keep transferring to different ministries every 2 years or every 2 months.
Thank you, Tunji. Well, one organization that very few people actually understand its functions and how it works and its relevance and its role in sports development is the NOC, the Nigerian Olympic Committee. Kweku, please just let us into that small world. What is their role in all of this, just for understanding?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's like we're on the same wavelength, because my full discourse for today was going to be on the NOC. But I'll just say one or two things. I think the NOC, as presently constituted, either does not understand its role, or for one reason or the other has abdicated the role that it has. Because for me, especially regarding sports development, the National Olympic Committee supervising the national sports federations has a greater role to play than even the National Sports Commission. And I will say this because I think it was in 2016, the International Olympic Committee, having looked at the structure of Olympic committees in developing countries, found out that there was a gap in what they were getting in terms of sports development indices from the developing countries. And then they looked at the structure and they found out that the main reason was because the Olympic committees in those developing countries were not doing what they were supposed to do with their national sports federations. So they set up a program. I think they called it the Olympic Solidarity Program for developing countries' Olympic committees. And the first country that they came to do that model was Nigeria in 2016. They said every National Olympic Committee in Africa must ensure that all the federations have strategic development plans, minimum 4 years for every federation. So they now came to Nigeria to train people who the NOC will now send to the various federations to help them develop those strategic plans. We did that training, I think about 12 of us. I was privileged to be one of the 12 that were selected in 2016. In 2019, Zimbabwe was the second country that did that the training. And as of today, Zimbabwe has deployed the people to do the training for their federations. About a month ago, I got an email from the Olympic Solidarity Facilitator that they are wondering why Nigeria has not yet started working on that program, despite the fact that we were the ones that were first trained. And that was an indictment on the NOC because they are not doing the role, they're not playing the role that they should be playing. The NOC should ensure that the foundations, the federations are founded on principles, processes, and procedures, not on individuals. The successes we're having so far with some of our sports federations is because of individual approaches. When those individuals go, we come back to square one. We need to now ensure that the NOC sets up structures for the sports federations that will give us sustainable development, like Professor Omotayo said.
Fantastic. We are going on a short break. When we come back, I will get Prof to now help us look at the federations so that we can start to, distinguish between roles and responsibilities. Now the NOC is a bit clearer from what people said. We look at the federations after the break.
There's the start. Archbishop of basketball, goal! He hung on that net like a stork up a tree. NTA Sports 24 brings you all sports, all time and all day. Tune in to watch NTA Sports 24 on Star Times Channel 270, Star Sax on Channel 434 and Free TV on Channel 731. NTA Sports 24, where sports thrive.
Welcome back. This is the Sports Parliament. We are looking at resetting the button for sports in Nigeria. We're talking about the federations. Onome Obute, I know you are chairman of a state federation, but I also know that there's a lot of confusion and not enough knowledge about the roles of associations and federations as distinct from the roles of those who are in charge of grassroots sports development. Tell us a little about the federations and what you can picture going forward, what the federations should be doing or the state associations should be doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And my principal, the man who set me up to become chairman, is here. So Atuna, I did my own Dr. Tando Sema go be chairman of badminton. And now I had to say. Anyway.
About you are doing it well.
Thank you, sir. That report card is good. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, for example, let me start from what happened today. I had a very brilliant meeting with a very, very fine gentleman this evening who wants to expand badminton beyond what I ever dreamed could be possible. He wants us to do it in phases of series. He wants us to go to places where people don't go to. He wants us to go to the barracks. He wants us to go to primary schools. He wants us to go to the downtrodden of the downtrodden, where he's sure people would understand that sports talents can make them become the bourgeois in that area. That's where he wants us to take badminton to in 2021. And he wants us to build a first of its kind badminton setting somewhere very popular, and he's going to give us all the exposure we need in terms of content and on TV. Now, when I had that meeting with that man today, I look back at what we're discussing at the Family Entered by Sports platform the whole of today, when we're talking about federations, associations, grassroots structure. The truth of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is those on top clearly remember that there is a foundation they are meant to cater for. They always enter that position, and the first thing they want to see is the honeycomb, forgetting that there is a place where you are actually meant to nurture that bee before it starts to produce honey. So for me, the structure we have, that is why when everybody is talking about this National Sports Commission, I laugh. Like Tunji said, the first thing he said to me, I was just very okay with it. Does the American people, the people we're always trying to copy, do they have these things we put in place here? The answer is nahi. It does not exist. Let us know that the federations should work hand in hand with the local content where they can develop these sports. You do not need to go to the federal level and start playing God when your home, your grassroots is dilapidated. It is dead. It is dying and decaying when talents abound. So for me,
let me just interrupt you a little. And this is just information. Through the years of my participation in sports, in those days, don't say now, I know that federations were never saddled with the responsibility to develop sports at the grassroots. Federations were never saddled with the responsibility to develop sports at the grassroots. The grassroots, that is from primary school to secondary school, junior secondary school in those days. Now we can even go to senior secondary school. It is meant for the schools. Another level entirely. That's why I want Tunji Adeyinka to come in now and emphasize that part of sports, the grassroots, because it is not the federations or even the associations' primary responsibility. It is the schools, they are the institutions, they have the infrastructure, they have everything there. Tunji.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And that is where, the challenge is. If you look at a pyramid, if we put 1 million people at the start of a pyramid, it's very likely that we'll get 100 excellent ones. So, and that is what the school system is. You have a school system where, if you look at, for example, the long-term athlete development program, 0 to 6, sports begins, you engage them with sports. So in our structure, that sits in the Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education, that's with the National School Sports Federation. The National School Sports Federation sits in the Ministry of Education, but it is linked to the Ministry of Sports. So linked means that the Ministry of Sport normally would have a representative that is looking in at what is happening in schools. But the challenge is that is not funded. So the National School Sports Federation is always complaining that they do not have funds. And when there's no fund, there's no way to propagate the programs that you need to propagate at that level at the school. And the reason why
Let me answer this question. Funds for what? Funds for what? Not in the individual schools. Individual schools are responsible for themselves. But so funds for what?
Funds for
organizing the competitions, trainings.
That's for competition.
Coaching.
Competitions only. Very good.
Coaching, competition, and building standards. which is standards that when you go to a school in Osogbo or you go to a school in Badagry, those standards are the same anytime you're talking about five-a-side or football or whatever it is. So in those days, if you remember, you would have every school would have sports grounds. You have inter-house competitions. You have inter-school competitions. You have all those competitions. So the problem now is that we miss all of that, and we suddenly want to begin to produce champions at 18 or 20 after they've left university. Even the NUGA, the National University Games, which is still under the purview of the National School Sports, which is under the NUGA team, is lacking. We struggle to have our NUGA. So it means that collegiate sport is struggling. Primary school, secondary school sport is struggling. And we suddenly want to have champions by the time we get out of university. That is not possible. One, what it does for us, what it should do for us, is that it allows us to get talents in early on. And when we're talking talents, we're not just talking athletes, we're talking officials, we're talking the different value chain of sports. And as we progress that gradually, you have a large number of participants. And that is where it is important at the state and local government levels, working with the schools to ensure that the schools are doing this. And the Ministry of Education needs to resource that appropriately. If we miss that, no matter how many facilities we build, we're just wasting our money.
Don't you see now, Abdurrahman, don't you see now that where federations or state associations now want to go to the grassroots and start to go into schools and start to tap, discover talents and all of that, they are taking on too much responsibility that is not theirs. We are not doing well with the Nigerian Schools Federation. We are not doing well with NUGA. We are not doing well with all those bodies. Those are the bodies that we should make to do well, so that the federations will just tap and get the best from all of them to start to service at national level, which is the job of the federations. Abdurrahman.
I would like to speak after that. I have a contrary opinion on that, sir.
Exactly. Very contrary.
Abdurrahman.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to align with Tunji to a very great extent. We've had this lamentation on a number of occasions on this platform. The foundation in schools is no longer there. And no matter what you do, if you cannot catch them young, you wait until they develop into adulthood. The chances are that you are not going to get the very best. Instead of us catching them through the school system we have set on this program, we now depend on catching them through other means. And by that point in time, they are no longer, in such a way that we can fashion them, we can give them the techniques and the advice to build on identified talent. No matter how good the talent is, if it is not developed